What's up guys? So today we're talking about rest time. So by the end of the video, you should have a very clear idea of exactly how long you should rest in between each set. So this video is sort of going to have two parts. The first part is going to be a personal workout that I did yesterday to give you an inside look at how I approach my rest times. The other part is going to be responding to a Jeff Cavaliere video that he put out about 3 weeks ago.
For strength, it depends on what study you've read these days.
So he's standing and there's a chart behind him for strength, hypertrophy, and conditioning, which I think is overall a good way to set it up. Just very clear, 3 different categories, 3 completely different goals. I also like how he said, depending on which study you read these days. I am primarily a science-based coach, and it is true that different studies say different things, and new information is always coming out, and it can be a little bit difficult because a lot of this research does conflict. However, by the end of the video, I will give you a foolproof strategy that is going to tell you exactly how to rest between every single set.
But you're resting either between 3 to 5 minutes to optimize your output. Realizing that in the bigger compound list, when you're training for strength, they're going to require a higher effort level, we're going to require better recovery, so you're going to rest longer. Some people say even as high as 7 to 8 minutes between efforts in order to maximize your output. And I've actually witnessed that firsthand myself, as I'm sure you have.
Honestly, I don't think it's as simple as this, and often it is actually the other way around. A lot of training for hypertrophy in the 8 to 12 rep range, especially on heavy lower body movements, like you see me doing here with this 5 sets of 10, there's just no way that I would be able to take 2 or 3 minutes of recovery and still churn out a good performance. On the other hand, if I'm doing doubles or triples or even sets of 5, I can actually recover faster. So I actually find it sort of the opposite. I need more recovery time for these higher reps. The fatigue tends to go up exponentially. However, he's also right in a way because a lot of strength athletes do take more recovery time because they're really not trying to push the recovery because that's not the stimulus that they are trying to chase. They are always trying to chase quality. That is going to be what is most important. Honestly, when it comes to either strength or hypertrophy, quality is going to be the most important thing.
And some people who do competitive Olympic weightlifting will actually wait between sets of a power clean 8 to 10 minutes because of the precision required to get that right. But there's variability, okay? And that's an important point to point out.
And honestly, when it comes to power production and Olympic weightlifting, a lot of them take actually pretty short recoveries. This is because the time under tension and the overall metabolic fatigue is pretty low because the action happens very, very quickly. During Olympic weightlifting, your muscles might be under tension for just a few seconds, and therefore it is not as demanding. It is demanding on the central nervous system, but in terms of metabolic fatigue, really not that demanding. Plus, if you're an elite Olympic weightlifter, you have to prepare for doing attempts very, very quickly. You don't have forever to wait between attempts when you're competing. So a lot of them, when they're training, they actually might take only a minute or 2 in between attempts because they're trying to replicate the competition.
Hypertrophy, on the other hand, if you're looking to just grow muscle, regardless of what is happening to your strength levels, is going to have different recommendations. You've probably seen recommendations of 60 to 90 seconds or a little bit longer, 2 to 3 minutes, and that's the difference between the exercise you're performing. Even if you're using a barbell row for hypertrophy, that's going to have a different impact than, let's say, a one-arm dumbbell row in terms of the overall impact on your recovery and your ability to come back and perform the next set. So the rest times might vary depending upon the exercise itself.
I agree. Now, I know some people are like, wait, what do you mean you agree? How is Jeffrey Verity Schofield agreeing with Jeff Cavaliere? The thing is, I assess primarily the information. Okay, if V-Shred, who I think is a bullshit scam artist who doesn't really know what he's doing, if he said something very reasonable and accurate and based in science that I agreed with, I would say that I agree with it. I assess primarily the information that is coming out of someone's mouth, and I will give credit where credit is due. It does make sense that the bigger the exercise, the more recovery you need. So arms, maybe just 1 or 2 minutes. If you're winded after doing a set of arms, something is probably wrong. For me, in this workout, doing sets of 10 on the deficit deadlift, I'm taking about 6 to 7 minutes. Not 2 to 3 minutes, that wouldn't be enough. I'm in pretty good shape still, but I'm taking about 5, 6, 7 minutes just because it is very, very taxing and it creates a massive metabolic effect. Plus, I just have to mentally prepare for the next set. Does that mean I'm getting less benefit than if I took 3 minutes? Honestly, probably not, because quality is going to be the main thing when it comes to driving strength and driving hypertrophy. It is important no matter what you are doing. If you are lifting weights, it is the quality of the set that is most important. If I rested 2 minutes, my set would probably go 10 for the first one, then maybe 8, 6, 5, 3. Instead, I can rest a little bit longer and do 5 sets of 10, which is a lot more work and is a higher quality of performance, which is going to be far more important.
And then some will even say something as short as 30 to 60 seconds. And before you throw that recommendation out, you have to realize that hypertrophy can also come through different mechanisms. And we know that utilizing metabolic fatigue, using higher rep totals like 20 reps, and resting just 30 seconds in between sets can create an incredible demand on your metabolic fatigue and stress, which will give you another form of hypertrophy. So there are variations in what this recommendation is, depending upon, again, what you're training for.
I agree with this as well, which is why it is important to go by feel. You need to feel your rest time, feel your recovery, and not time it. Maybe 60 seconds is optimal, maybe 90, maybe 120, maybe 3 minutes. It really just varies based on the person, based on the exercise, based on your goals, based on so many factors, and that's why I don't even write rest times in my training plans. Okay, some people, like, they say, oh wait, I thought you forgot something, there's no rest times. It's something you have to feel. You need to know, based on instinct, based on how you feel, when to go, when to do the next set. You should be able to mentally know when you are ready. It's the same thing with sleep. If people ask me, should I get 6 hours or 7 hours or 8 hours or 9 hours, it's something you need to feel. If you're tired, sleep. The same thing in the gym. If you're still tired and you're not going to give a good performance, you need to rest longer. And this needs to be flexible so that you know when to go. So if you're stuck to 2 minutes and you're not ready, that's not going to be a good situation for your performance and for your quality of the set.
And on the other side here, we have conditioning. And whether or not you're performing exercises in a HIIT fashion, or whether you're lifting a barbell in a complex, or whether you're just doing a circuit here, again, rest times are going to be different. 15 to 30 seconds between completed rounds of a circuit or a HIIT workout. Transition rest only between the exercises itself, right? Instead of just the end of those circuits, what's happening between the exercises. Or let's say 60 seconds max at the end of a complex.
So I actually agree with this as well, and conditioning is when I would write in a rest time, because the goal is not the weight lifted or the stimulus. The goal is to actually chase fatigue, and the rest time is a crucial part of that. If you are doing 400-meter intervals, and 1 week you're taking a minute rest, then the next 45 seconds, then the next 30 seconds, that is a very reasonable form of progression. 30 seconds rest is much different than 60 seconds rest, and this actually is a good way to improve the difficulty of the workout.
You better be timing your workouts, right? We have our timer app on our phone, it's free. And if you utilize your timer app, you'll have a precision to what it is that you're trying to follow here, because if there's one variable that gets overlooked more than any others, it's time.
I would argue that it gets overlooked because it doesn't matter that much. In any field, I tend to look at what the best people in the world are doing. If you look at the best bodybuilders in the world, natural or otherwise, the vast majority of them do not keep a strict timing on their recovery, just because it is not the most important variable, and it needs to go by feel. It needs to be flexible to actually get an ideal performance. So I would say timing your recovery is not going to be a top priority for almost anyone.
If I follow 4 minutes and I time my 4 minutes, but I realize that at the end of the 4 minutes, as the workout goes on, I'm not recovering enough to give a good effort in the pursuit of new strength, then I'm going to expand that. It's not supposed to be a fixed level, but you have to be cognizant of where you're heading. It's too easy for us to jump on Instagram and just become so distracted that 4 minutes turns into 7. And if you were following this protocol, it would actually be detrimental to your overall progress. Now, I'm not actually against the use of Instagram in between sets.
I am against the use of Instagram between sets. Even if you're resting 5, 6, 7 minutes, you should be focused. Focus on what you just did. Was your technique good? How could it be better? Focus on the next set. Focus on recovering. I am against the use of Instagram, against Facebook, against any of these sites in between sets. Even my Instagram, even my YouTube videos. If you're watching this at the gym, close my video and focus on your next set, okay? Put that browser cookie down.
That's because it is going to be a long period of time here, but utilizing the timer app is something that actually keeps you honest. And it's incredibly important, again, because as a variable in terms of your overall progress, your time between sets matters, and it matters a lot.
It does matter a lot, and it can have a significant impact on your performance. But it is often in the opposite direction of what people think. A lot of people think, oh, I need to keep going, I need to rush the recovery, I need to, get in another set, 30 seconds rest, 60 seconds rest. You would not believe how many shitty programs I see with 30 to 60 second rests claiming this is for hypertrophy. If you're on steroids, you want to get a pump, sure. Maybe. If you're natural, no, that is not optimal. This has actually been studied. I think it was a Schoenfeld study. He does so many studies. I'll put a chart up on the screen. It showed that 3 minutes of rest was better than 1 minute of rest for hypertrophy and also for strength. So if anything, most people should be resting longer. Either way, it needs to be by feel, not just a certain amount of time that is ideal for a certain rep range or for a certain exercise. It needs to be individual, and it needs to be flexible.
So my recommendation is, let's say you're training for hypertrophy and you're going into the 2 to 3 minute range, let's say, because you're using a bigger, more compound lift for hypertrophy. If that's the case there, you have either two choices. Set the app for 2 minutes, sort of the minimum time frame, then you determine when it goes off whether you need a little bit more, or you set it for the maximum time frame, and if you feel ready prior to the time the alarm goes off, you just jump back into the exercise.
So I don't hate this recommendation. I don't think it is truly terrible. I don't think it's needed in most cases either, but perhaps some people could benefit from it, and give it a shot. See if it works for you, but also keep in mind that flexibility is going to be key.
Right, but you're going based on feel, and that's going to change as the workout proceeds because of your overall cumulative fatigue and whatever exercise it is that you're performing.
Agree.
But do me a favor, from now on, guys, make sure you time what you're doing because it matters. It is just as important as all the other variables.
That, however, I do not agree with. Unless you are truly messing up your rest times, it is not that important. As long as you go by feel, that is good enough. Stuff like sets, reps, exercise selection, technique, they are all going to be way, 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 way more important than your recovery times. All right, that is all for this Alright, that is all for this video. Make sure to like the video. It does help a ton. Appreciate that. Comment, subscribe. What's the other one? Notifications. All that good shit. And I will see you in that next video. Peace!
YouTube police! We're gonna need you to watch one of these videos on the screen ASAP or you'll be held in contempt of YouTube. Law.